Storytelling is one of the most important things that you can do as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, because if you want to persuade people, you have to be able to tell stories. Storytelling is one of the most powerful state-of-the-art technologies that you can use, whether you're in a meeting, whether you have to do a presentation, or if you want to persuade someone. Storytelling is important because of three reasons. It's memorable, it's persuasive, and it's human. We are the only species that can only actually share stories. And research have said that when you share stories and wrap it around facts, your facts, the information that you are giving, are actually 22 times more memorable than just the facts alone. When you do share a story, chemicals and hormones start releasing in your brain, and there are three types. It's dopamine, oxytocin, and cortisol. Just really quickly, dopamine is the feel-good hormone. Oxytocin, they say instead of letting Cupid shoot an arrow, let him release some oxytocin because oxytocin is that bonding chemical. And cortisol is actually a stress hormone. When you tell a really good story, just like you know how you are driving a car and a kid comes out from nowhere and you have to really pay attention. When you tell a really good story, it also releases stress hormones called cortisol, where it makes you pay attention to the things that you're saying right now. So storytelling is one of the most important things that you can share whenever you're doing a presentation or you're in a one-on-one call or a meeting, because naturally human beings are wired for storytelling. First of all, when people tell stories, people usually do it in two ways. One, they usually tell a recap story, or they tell a story when they really go into their experiences. We really want to get into that story when you go into that experience. So here's what I mean. A recap story is kind of like if I have to watch season 13 of Grey's Anatomy and I forgot season 1 through 12, I have to go on YouTube and watch a quick recap of all the single seasons. So when people tell stories, sometimes they go, here's what happened 5 years ago, here's what happened 7 years ago, and they give a lot of informational bullet points. Why is Netflix or books so good? Because when you're actually watching it, you go right into the details and into that situation. When you are telling a story, there's always a time and a place. So after you describe the time and the place, there's the situation. Then you go into what you were thinking about, what's happening. You were describing about your thoughts, your reactions to what's happening around you. So if you have a story and there's other people in the dialogue too, you might be saying, this is what he said, this is what she said, that's what they were doing. And then later on, you would describe the reactions of what's happening to the event. So I just want to break that down again. So you have a time and a place, you describe what's happening, and then you describe the reactions to what was happening. And so these things, we go into the details, and you know what it does for us as the listener? We can visually imagine this in our heads. Because, for example, when you're saying, oh, I've been chatting with that person, let's say, for 10 minutes online. I can imagine a chat pop-up that goes up. Or you even went to your spam folder, right? I can imagine you clicking into your email and going into your spam folder. And so to make this story a more impressive story whenever you're in front of, let's say, a business audience, let's say you have the story. Most of the time, most people do not know how to connect the lesson of the story to what they talk about. You see, there's a lot of lessons that we've gained in the story. So the next part is, how do you bring a lesson from within the story and tell the audience this is why it's important for you? So again, let me break that down one more time. That in every story, there's a time and a place. There, you're describing the events, and then next you're describing the reactions to the events, and then afterwards you want to recap and break down a lesson. So you can say, for example, so therefore, or because I went through this bad customer experience, I've learned that. Okay, so you want to connect the dots for your audience. Just like I'm not sure if when you were a kid, you had those drawings that went from 1 to 2 to 100. When you tell a story, you have to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and you have to connect the dots for your audience. So you have your story, and then you have to connect the dots, tell your audience why that story is important. But a lot of people ask me, I don't have stories, kid. What can I do to tell better stories, or how can I find stories? So if you ever have that thought, the first thing you have to realize is that stories are all around you. I'm not sure about you, but have you ever like bought new clothes or you got new shoes or you just bought like a new car and then you start noticing that everyone has that new car or something similar that you got? It's the same exact thing with stories. Right now, if you believe that you don't have stories, you're not listening for them, you're not looking for them because every single day as human beings, we go through life experiences. Even when you're chatting with your friends or your mom or your colleagues, they will tell you so many stories, and there's so many lessons from those stories. So the best thing that you can do if you want to become a better storyteller is first start telling stories. Don't care about how good they are, how bad they are. I had a client ask me, he was like, "Kit, I want to become a better storyteller." And I asked him, "Well, are you telling stories right now?" And he said, "No." Right? So the very first step, if you want to become a better storyteller, believe you have stories no matter if the stories are good or bad, just start telling them.